Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Liam Dale, a seminarian with the Diocese of Des Moines, and on today's show we're visiting with Jason Lee, another seminarian for the diocese, who will be ordained to the transitional diaconate this evening at St. Boniface Parish in Waukee. We'll visit with him about formation, seminary, and much more. But before we get into today's interview, let's find out what's on the bishop's mind.
So, Liam, you don't always want to know what's on the bishop's mind, I'm sure, but you have to relax now as you're kind of getting in the groove, and appreciate your efforts with us and all that we're about. You know, it's kind of the ordination season, and I had a privilege, I think my first time as a bishop, to go back and be part of witnessing another ordination installation of a bishop, Bishop Earl Fernandez of Columbus, Ohio, which is actually the city where I attended seminary at the Josephinum, and so was able to be one of the 30 bishops who were there. And maybe it's like a married couple going to a wedding and they thinking about their own experience of, laying down their lives, that they might do so. I was privileged also the day before that to witness the wedding of Ben Friedman of Our Lady Immaculate Heart, St. Luke's in Ankeny, and then Maren Nielsen at Christ the King Parish. So that was a beautiful moment. And Loras College connection there. Liam, whether you knew them or not, they were long past. But I think just that experience and realizing the power of that rite, and like for Des Moines, Columbus had not experienced the actual ordination. They'd experienced installation of bishops, and I think it's just a very powerful thing. So looking forward to Jason's ordination in his home parish of St. Boniface, Waukee, and I think a proud moment for them as they've kind of been a school of formation in their own right and all that they want to be about. So very beautiful thing. We're kind of, times of transitions, certainly graduations and other things that are going on here in the Diocese of Des Moines. We're going to hand off and say goodbye to Paul Carlson, our Director of Finance, for over 22 years. Paul's just brought that kind of steady insight and obviously accounting savvy, but has been a great servant of the diocese and the church in all the parishes, one who has a kind of Omaha roots, but came across the river, and we've been blessed to have him. He's an exemplar of a Christian gentleman, and so congratulations to you, Paul and Patsy. I know the trip to Ireland that you've been longing for, that you're going to get to experience that, to go to the Old Sod and experience all that's going on. We're kind of on the heels of the feast of St. Ephrem the Deacon, great doctor of the church, happened yesterday. And so I'm sure Ephrem is going to be interceding for Jason as he goes forward. And then as we head into next week, I'll actually be participating in the USCCB spring meeting. And this year, a little bit more of a retreat setting. Every 3 years they do that. So not looking to engage any particularly controversial issues and what we're about. Certainly there are things that are continuing to stretch us. We look at the pending Dobbs decision, Jackson, Women's Health. Not sure if they'll uphold the leaked version or not, and we're just praying for our country, praying for conversion of hearts, praying that charity will prevail, and that ultimately the dignity of all human life will ultimately shine forth, and that we'll all embrace that. And so we pray for peace in our country and peace in our own hearts. Obviously, some of the shepherds have to take on certain, more high-profile instances. Archbishop Cordileone in San Francisco, obviously with Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. And so after a long process, kind of the one that is envisioned in the document, The Mystery of the Eucharist and the Life of the Church by the bishops, that we, that there are times in which politicians and their vocations find themselves at odds. And so the stakes are higher there, and I think a kind of remedial action that was followed. I don't think it's up to any individual bishop to kind of have a referendum on any individual bishop's decision. Always the particularities of the case there. But we certainly, our prayers are with Archbishop Cordileone and with all politicians, that they might continue to embrace the gospel of life in all that they're about. So again, as we have men calling forth, that they too can be bold witnesses in their own service and sacrifice. So we're looking forward to hearing how Jason has that servant's heart.
Yes, well, thank you, Bishop. We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we'll welcome Diocesan Seminarian Jason Lee.
Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Allie Colleen.
Give myself 5 more minutes.
Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom.
I'm in between Friday night wild and quiet Sunday morning.
Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org. Sponsored by Ball Team.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by Knights of Columbus, Borman, and Pfeiffer Agency. Serving the Catholic families in Iowa, the Knights of Columbus is a fraternal benefit society providing financial security to members and their families, specializing in life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability income insurance, and retirement annuities. You can reach Knights of Columbus Field Agent Gregory Waddle at 563-689-6801. That's 563-689-6801. Thank you, and God bless.
Welcome back. I'm Liam Dale, seminarian with the Diocese of Des Moines, and today we're visiting with Jason Lee, a seminarian for the Diocese of Des Moines, who will be ordained to the transitional diaconate this evening at St. Boniface Parish in Waukee. He's going to fill us in on formation, seminary, and more.
Jason, glad to welcome you on the show. Congratulations on finishing another semester. And last week we had Father John Acree celebrating 60 years of ordained priesthood. You're kind of at the other end of it here, too. So the adventure for you and maybe some of the quickening of the heart and things that are going on. But on this show, making it personal, we'd love to hear a little bit about the background and obviously the Waukee connection. But some of your roots span continents. Is that right?
That's right, yeah, Bishop. Well, it's a pleasure to be here on the Iowa Catholic Radio and to share my story. But, yeah, in terms of my background, so as you know, I grew up in Waukee, baptized in the Methodist faith. My mother, a native of Iowa, a longtime NICU nurse, but my father is an immigrant from Hong Kong, China. Grew up there for a number of years, and he and my grandparents, they immigrated to the States in the 70s, and they started a Chinese restaurant. For a long time, they helped run King Ing Lao in Des Moines on Cart Avenue, and then they took over a restaurant called the Rice Bowl in Beaverdale neighborhood, which recently just closed. But yeah. So
Not because of the pandemic.
Not because of the pandemic, okay. Because of some family circumstances. But yeah, it was, yeah.
So where did they meet?
Oh, my parents, yeah, that's a good question. So my aunt, she went to nursing school with my mother at the Methodist nursing school downtown. And so they knew each other, and she had met my uncle, which is my dad's brother. And at the time, my aunt and uncle, they had just gotten married, and they were just kind of the mutual friends that my parents needed in order to find each other. And so they set them up on a blind date, and that's how they started their relationship, and they eventually got married.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It wasn't at a Chinese restaurant.
It wasn't at a Chinese restaurant. No, I think my dad proposed at a Noah's Ark.
Wow, classic. So, How many couples, I wonder?
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, so, they shall go off 2 by 2, right? Yeah.
Right,
into the ark, so that's beautiful. But as you mentioned, you were baptized Methodist, and so, yeah,
right.
Familiarity with the Christian church, but the larger Church of Christ, but your parents, I think you mentioned your dad had an Anglican background as well, so not Buddhist or anything in that regard, huh?
No, yeah. I mean, my dad was actually baptized, when he was in middle school at an Anglican church back in Hong Kong. But yeah, grew up Methodist, baptized Methodist, and one of the things my mom always emphasized for my siblings and I was the fact that we should go to church. She always made sure that we went to church on Sundays and also Sunday school, even if that meant dragging us kicking and screaming to the church. But that was very much of importance for her. Faith was, prayer was, a relationship with God and Christ. And we even, lived that in the home when we'd pray before meals and just kind of bless our food, not, very similar to the Catholic blessing for meals and all that. So we did something like that. And so faith was very important to her, and that really resonated with me. It really showed me that, church was important. God is important.
So as a NICU nurse, did she ever talk about that, the interface of her faith and that? Because obviously you see some crisis situations there day in, day out.
Yeah. I do recall, she, over the years, she's talked a lot about some of the hard cases of being a NICU nurse, of those infants who, are very ill, that end up passing, and what can you really do other than just pray for them? Pray for the babies, pray for, the parents who are, undergoing these tragedies in their lives. Like, it really came down to just prayer and trust in the mercy of God. And so I think that's something that my mother, through her sharing of those stories, really instilled upon me, is a trust in God's providence, prayer, and also a trust in his mercy. Yeah.
That's the core of it all, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously the discipline of, hey, you need to be in church every weekend, but at some point you made that your own, and they trusted you to let the Spirit lead you in ways that maybe they couldn't have imagined.
Exactly. Yeah, they did. Yeah. And my encounter with God really came through reading of the scriptures. I started from Genesis to Revelation. I read the entire book of the scriptures, and that's
you did this before Father Mike Schmitz did, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you were onto this long before that.
It was a Protestant Bible, so it was 66 books, not the 72 books that we have as Catholics.
All right. But, so you kind of petered out in December then, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I skipped a few books. But no, it was through that encounter that I really encountered God's love for me. I encountered Jesus' love through the Gospels, and that's really what motivated me to ultimately, as a young high schooler, to look at a possible vocation as being a Protestant pastor, being a Methodist pastor, which directly influenced my call to the priesthood and, call to seminary as well.
So the word, just by your own engagement with it, it was just something that God, and your appetite for it, and that didn't wane, but it just kind of grew through all of this. And you didn't have, you weren't using, it wasn't like a Bible study or any kind of group you were with, right? It was kind of you and Jesus on this way.
Yeah. It really was. I was going through, when I was in 8th grade, I was going through confirmation in the Methodist Church, and the Lord just kind of spoke to me like, hey, I want you to read the scriptures. And that spoke to me, and I just ran with it. I listened, and I ran with it, and it was a very beautiful experience to encounter God through that.
Okay. And now, when Methodist pastors are preaching, they go a little longer, right, than the typical Catholic homily?
They do.
There might be one or two priests accepted.
Yeah.
We won't use anybody's initials, but maybe Father James Downey or someone.
Oh, sure.
But that kind of complemented your own personal study and prayerful meditation on the Word.
It did, yeah. Like, once I started reading the scriptures, everything just started making sense. Whatever the pastor was saying up in the pulpit, like, it started to click. Everything about faith started to click for me. And it was... Did
you feel weird, like you were kind of an outlier among your peers, or were you kind of, no, this is the way it is,
That's a good question.
You can ponder that one. Get back to me on that. All right.
I don't know. It seemed normal at the time for me.
Yeah, you didn't feel like a stealth activity here, like you were, undercover or something.
No, definitely. Yeah. It was very open, and I even read the scriptures in my public middle school. So I read it while I was in middle school.
Wow.
So in the class period. So.
Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, aren't you avant-garde? Okay,
I know, yeah,
pushing the envelope there.
Yeah,
okay. Right. So possible career in ministry, vocation there. You talk very much about the role of your mother and how profoundly her faith, made witness to you. It's not like you were really into the Blessed Mother in those days, right? So, this draw toward Catholicism and Mary. Talk about that, if you would, please.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, my initial draw, at least to the Catholic faith, was as I was being mentored by my Methodist pastor. I encountered, the fullness of Methodism, and at the time they were dealing with some doctrinal issues that were yeah, I didn't like the process. Their process was they wanted to vote, and change Jesus's teaching. And so that was a big no-no for me. And what that stirred in my own head was like, oh, where's the question of where is Jesus's true church? And it was also, around this time that I encountered the rosary through a Catholic friend of mine from high school. And I was so fascinated by this rosary that I started praying the rosary and having a devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And through this encounter of, just the rosary and also this budding question in my own heart, like, where is Jesus's church? I started to just dive in for myself and just climb you could say, the historical church ladder of Methodism to the Anglican Church to the Catholic Church and even the Orthodox. I even looked at the Orthodox churches and also the Catholic Church, and through my own, self-discovery, but also a little bit of guidance from my aunt and uncle, I, fell in love with the Catholic Church. I fell in love with the teaching of the Eucharist, of Jesus being truly present in the body and blood, in the wine and in the bread. I fell in love with Marian devotion through my own devotional practice to praying the rosary. And also, for me, the historical link is the apostolic succession of the bishops kind of like led me to say, like, this is Jesus' church. This is the church that Jesus Christ established. And that's kind of what spearheaded my own conversion to the Catholic faith.
It just sounds so holistic, that, there was an intellectual component to all this, but then, your heart was activated in that way, and there was a love affair there too, so both, richly drawn together, and I think for some people it might be accenting more one or the other, but one draws the other along, doesn't it? Truth and beauty and the goodness of the church. And so if we take the scriptures seriously, some of these things, obviously apostolic succession and other things are woven into that, and even the role of Mary, even though she keeps a low profile for the most part, but how that was there. So did you at a certain point have to kind of state your what was going on to your folks, and did that go well, or and other people who knew you?
That's at least my folks. When I first told my dad about it, he was initially resistant to me at least entering RCIA and pursuing Catholicism as a viable option. My mother was very supportive and just desired that I do the will of God. And so as I was going through RCIA, I met this resistance, but also this support, and it was kind of a mixed message from my folks. But God carried me along, and eventually my dad came around. It was at the rite of election, where we're presented before the bishop, and we went down to St. Ambrose Cathedral, and his heart just kind of melted. I don't know how, but the church very much reminded him of his own Anglican church that he grew up in Hong Kong. And that's when he started opening his own heart for me to pursue my conversion to Catholicism, which was a very meaningful event for both him and I, that he came to support me and that he opened his heart to my conversion. And then after that, my folks have been 100% behind me through my own conversion, but also through my entry into seminary and also pursuit of priesthood.
What a gift they've given you, because, for a while it sounds like there was some sifting going on for you, because it wasn't, unilateral support, but at the same time, that Dad kept the relationship and the engagement alive. You'd been at Iowa State for a bit of this. That was one facet of the kind of RCIA, or that happened at St. Ambrose?
No. So my conversion happened when I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
In 2014. So it was, I converted to Catholicism right before I graduated from high school.
Okay.
And then I went to Iowa State and grew in my faith and joined a discernment group for the priesthood.
All right.
Yeah.
So I hope they didn't try and recruit you away from the Diocese of Des Moines to that Archdiocese of Dubuque, right?
No, they tried, but they couldn't get me.
Woo, okay, our blessings.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, no, that's great. So So a period at Iowa State, you didn't earn your degree there because this tug on your heart for priesthood was
Exactly.
compelling. Yeah. So, what were your apprehensions, or what kind of, was that a seamless transition? And and you've been there. You've just completed your third year. Major seminary. So, probably had some free theology to do too there, right? And philosophy, or not? You were.
Well, I entered right into the college seminary. At St. John Vianney College Seminary. So I entered there for my sophomore year. Spent 3 years there. Finished my undergrad and got a bachelor's in philosophy. Which was a very blessed time.
People can't see us blessing ourselves here, but that's good.
Right. But yeah, it was a very blessed time just to grow in a relationship with the Lord and learn how to pray and encounter, I would say, the servant heart of Jesus, but also his sacred heart. That's what I really encountered in my college seminary days, and also learning more about myself. I think that's one thing that seminary has really shown me and taught me, is to learn more about myself, my strengths, my weaknesses, to learn, but also learn how God uses all of that, uses all of my gifts and my strengths, but also my weaknesses for his better and for his greater glory, really. And that's one thing that seminary has really taught me, both in college, but also in theology, is that the Lord loves me, and I can love myself, even despite everything else. So,
what a beautiful note to pause on.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Iowa Catholic Radio welcomes Scotty McCreery with special guest Ali Colleen.
Give myself 5 more minutes.
Sunday, July 24th at the Iowa Event Center Ballroom.
I'm in between Friday night wild and quiet Sunday morning.
Tickets and information available at celebratecountry.org.
World's a time for a perfect kiss.
Sponsored by Ball Team.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
Hey, Jason, you were talking about how the seminary kind of exposes the weaknesses and your humanity and all that, and the beautiful gifts, and so self-knowledge is one of the great privileges that people are given, and you don't have to keep asking yourself, who am I? But that turning of your heart, as our Holy Father says, who am I for? Who am I for? And so awakening that servant's heart as well. Liam and Jason, both of you, I mean, obviously the seminary has its own rule of life, but then you're also on a regular undergraduate campuses, right?
Yeah.
So interacting with students who are all over the map, men and women and everything else. Liam, how do you find that that's part of the formative experience for you? Because you're not just sequestered away, right?
Right. Yeah, you're mixed in with everyone else. And honestly, that is a huge piece of our formation, of just learning how to have meaningful relationships, learning that you're not just like this sacramental machine that's been set apart from everyone else. Yeah. So learning to get mixed in with everyone is really good.
And some may be kind of... well, what is all this? Seminarian? Why would you do that in this day and age? The church is, not always the healthiest place, right? By the outsider's perspective, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, Jason, the blessings that you've had, and there have been parish experiences all the way along, a relationship with St. Patrick's and Edina and things. Any other ministerial experiences that you look back now and say, well, maybe that wasn't the easiest thing, but oh my goodness, thank you, Lord.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my time at St. Patrick's has been a blessed time just to encounter the people in Edina, Minnesota. But yeah, one of the toughest ministry experiences I had, I would say, was my summer working as a hospital chaplain at a local hospital in Minneapolis, and it's the #1 trauma center. And boy, did we saw a lot of different things. It serviced a lot of the lower income people in Minneapolis because it was a county hospital, and but also very well funded. But yeah, seeing suffering people and sick people, and that was really difficult because you really have to know your limitations, but also beautiful at the same time because you encounter people who are encountering the mystery of Jesus' own suffering and passion, and you minister to them in a sense. You bring them the Eucharist and you pray with them, but they also bring Christ, the suffering servant, to you. You encounter that through their own suffering. It helps you reflect on just that beautiful mystery of Jesus' passion, death, and resurrection. There's a certain beauty to that suffering, and it was a very difficult summer encountering.
Was this in the wake of the George Floyd death there, or during the pandemic, or not?
It was during the pandemic. Yeah. Just a year or so away, or a year or so after George Floyd.
Okay.
Yeah, very much still in pandemic mode, and so there were a lot of very limited visits for folks in the hospital, and so yeah, a lot of people were also lonely in the hospital because they only had one or two visitors or none at all. So
beautiful. So not kind of living the word that you've taken to heart so much, and now soon with the grace of orders and the charism of the diaconal role, being called to preach that word now, and you'll be out with the good people in Harlan and St. Michael's and in Shelby County this summer. So with Father Madawusu. Is that a source of apprehension, or in the last few seconds that we've got here, just any observations for the good people in Shelby County?
Yeah, no, Shelby County, here I come. I'm very excited to be with you all, and very excited to minister to the good people out there. And yeah, just looking forward to getting my preaching groove and also administer, sacraments of baptism or weddings or sacramentals. But yeah, just excited to be with you and to learn about your community and who you are as a people.
Wow. Well, Jason, congratulations, and it's humbling for me, but thank you, and may you flourish this summer. So again, here you come. Look out.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Bishop.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thank you to all of our guests and all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, and Wisconsin, and wherever you may be listening on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.